everyone.
Hey lads,
Minister,
only well.
we took it in here. Thank you.
I think it is a budget that recognises that a lot of people are under pressure, and so there is a very strong cost of living element to this budget. But it's also a budget that looks to the future and makes provision for costs that are coming our way in the coming years. So I think we sought to strike the right balance between helping people now with a whole range of cost of living measures and investment in public services and infrastructure and supporting enterprise, while at the same time having a clear eye on the challenges that we know are coming our way. The international environment has deteriorated, and that is unmistakably part of the backdrop to this budget, and that reaffirms my own view and the view of the government of the need to be careful with receipts that we think we cannot rely on into the future, potentially windfall corporate tax receipts. But I think it's important to put it in context. We still expect the Irish economy to grow next year. The best measure would be the modified domestic demand, or GNI star, and it's in the region of 2% growth, which is less than it has been in recent years, but by international comparisons it's still solid growth for next year, with the labour market remaining quite strong, and we're continuing to run surpluses. But there are risks, and as Minister for Finance I have to, on budget day, when speaking to the country, acknowledge that there are real risks, and we do have to plan for different eventualities.
It's the second budget that we've seen a wide array of once-off measures. Do you think that in an ideal world once-off measures will become part of the budgetary armoury year in, year out, or do you think they need to be phased out going forward?
I think we will see them play less and less a role into the future. We are in an environment where inflation has been exceptionally high. We've had 40-year high levels of inflation over the last year or so, and that required an exceptional response from government. So you don't get that kind of response in more normal times. We have seen a tapering or a step down in the overall level of one-off supports. Last year we had a package of over €4 billion. This year it's €2.7 billion. We've sought to target the resources as best we can. So no, I don't see such provision playing a significant role in our budgetary framework in the future when we are in more normal times. But there is a journey to get to that point.
How tense were negotiations over the health spend for 2024 and the overspend for 2023? You said there was an appropriate degree of tension a couple of weeks ago. Take us into the room though. What were negotiations like?
I have an excellent personal relationship with Stephen Donnelly, and I have huge respect for the work that he's done for Minister for Health. And that was present at all times in the many meetings that I had with Stephen. Of course, those meetings were intense because we were focusing on really large sums of money, and we were trying to identify, what are the risks regarding the health budget at the moment and for next year. But the meetings at a personal level were always extremely cordial and professional, and we're going to be having a lot more of them, and Stephen and I will work together on this.
Do you think he'll be disappointed, or has he expressed to you any disappointment about his allocation for this year?
Well, overall health expenditure is now in excess of €22 billion. And versus last year's budget, it's additional funding of €1.2 billion. It is the case, however, that every single government minister will always make the case that their budget should be bigger and they should have got more money in this budget. That's the nature of the budgetary process. And I'm sure that's how Stephen would approach this as well. But we gave him the maximum amount of funding that was possible while staying inside the broad budgetary parameters that the government had agreed to. And this will be on top of the large increases in health funding that the Department of Health have received and needed in recent years.
Is there any risk that the quality of health services or the availability of health services will diminish as a result of the spending decisions taken in this budget?
So I actually believe the greater risk to where we are will be in the quality of health services will be the demand for them in 2024. What I've really learned over the last number of months as the scale of our difficulty became clear is that while there are familiar difficulties that I focus on and where we are with the management of taxpayers' money in our public services, there has been a shift in the demand that our hospitals are facing after the pandemic. And the most likely cause of this is the amount of normal everyday health care that was not met during the period of the pandemic when the COVID took precedence over everything else. And really for me the really big issue regarding the impact on the quality of health services for next year is this a kind of one-off increase in demand, that will pass through our health services and then go down, or has something happened that's more permanent in nature? And that's actually the big issue that I've
You don't
identified.
know as of now whether
Well,
that's
we're
the
working
case.
on that at the moment. I mean, this is a problem all health services are confronting at the moment. We have seen a change in the nature of demand. It's going to take everyone some time to see is that something that's a permanent shift change, or is this something that is happening that after some time our hospitals, our doctors, our nurses will have met the need and will go back to a level of demand that we're more familiar with.
Will we be back here next year overspending, wrangling over provision for budget 2025 as it'll be for health, I mean?
We'll definitely be back wrangling. We'll definitely be back with every government department negotiating over the size of their budget. There's going to be another budget. We're going to be back here having that negotiation, and I very much hope that we'll be in a far better position then with all the work we're going to do in regards to our health budget.
Just finally on the childcare cuts, the 25%, that's only coming in from September of next year. How can you really claim that's a budget 2024 measure when it's only going to be in existence for households for a third of the year, and when the allocation is 41 million versus last year's 121 million?
Well, 120 million was the full year measure, and not every government minister can implement measures early in the year. It's a standard feature of every budget that budgets measures happen at different times in the year, and this is a measure that will be happening at a time in which it's after the summer break. Parents and children are going back to school, but in any event, we do only have so much money. It's a measure that we wanted to make progress on, and it's a standard feature of budgets that not everything happens on the 1st of January.
When do you think the next election should be?
We've just covered off the budget.
After the next budget?
That's a matter for another
You
day.
indicated in an earlier answer that you felt there will be another budget.
Well, you were asking me about budget, now you're asking me about election. There should be another budget.
Before the election?
There should be, well, by nature, if I'm saying there's going to be another budget that government should be delivering, it means that we're going to get to that point. This government has got a really strong set of relationships at the heart of it, but we're really aware of all the needs that are out there, and I believe we're going to continue to do our best to make a big difference.
Thank you, Minister.